Welcome back to Lepodcast episode 30. As always, you're here with Hoop, Saney, and the infamous ZZ Huncho. We're in for a show today, boys. We have two big topics that should be very debate heavy. We're going over the top 5 point guards in the NBA, along with our early All-Star predictions. To kick things off in a lighter fashion, did we see your boy Russ get looking like he was in the boxing ring, like Rocky Balboa?
I love how we're doing this on the podcast, and I'm gonna keep it PG-13 because I'm not gonna be saying what I really wanted to say, because I recorded a TikTok video about this, about how angry I was, and I genuinely couldn't post it because I think my account would have been banned. And I put my heart, my blood, my sweat, my tears into that account.
I don't want to ask what you said, but can you give us a brief explanation?
Oh, man. I was literally sitting there. I was figuring out ways to drag IP addresses. I was going to figure out where Zach Collins lived. I was pissed. I was like, you see those? You ever see those like fans that'll get on the court? Like, for example, like Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Like that one time the Lakers got in a fight and he just like steps on the court as a fan. Like that was me. Like I got up from my TV. I like
pull your jeans up,
pull your pants up. Yeah, pull my pants up. Literally, I like got up from my TV, pulled my pants up. I was like ready to fight, bro. I was like, I'm just looking at my TV.
That IG pic was hard though. With Braun next to him and just like blood running down his face.
Bro, there's so many Lemetic memes came out of that.
Who played the better game, Russ or Zach Collins?
Bro, the fact that Westbrook could have shot 0 for 30 that game. The fact that Westbrook had a line down his head and he stood up like he had that better game. He's the better man. He's a bigger man than me.
There were two highlights of that game. One was Russell Westbrook getting absolutely clobbered by Zach, and then the other one was that double alley-oop between Braun and Russ. So, like, I feel like Lakers fans definitely had an emotional roller coaster ride of a game, considering that the Lakers won. Braun dropped 39 on them low boys, and Russell Westbrook got literally cut open like a WWE superstar. Honestly, Collins getting ejected, that was, funny. I expected that to happen. Russ's tech, I'm not really for it, refs. Come on now, if I got clocked in the head like that and I start leaking like John Jones, we're professional basketball players. I'm sorry. What do you expect me? What do you expect me to do? I am fully behind Russ. Russ should have knocked his head clean off his freaking shoulders and then dunked on him and then spit on his kid. But anyway, yeah. That's crazy. That's absolutely wild.
That ramped up real quick. Spit on his kid.
I got so mad for Russ. Sometimes Russ is a hothead, right? But in this situation, what do you expect from the man? That was so stupid.
I don't expect him to spit on his kid. Those videos are hilarious, though, when you'll see either Deuce going up to a teammate looking to punch him, and Curry's, is it his son, Cannon? Is that his name? He went to give Draymond Green a fist bump, and he winded up like he was about to punch him in the face. And the comments were all, "Oh, Cannon's getting it back for Jordan Poole, bro." But I love NBA kids. They're just fun to watch. But if we could get into the show for today, I want to start with the All-Star predictions. We want to preface this by saying, obviously, there's two ways to look at it. In terms of the way it's actually voted, it's part fans, part media. Both groups are usually very dumb, and it's a popularity contest. Guys will get snubbed that should have been in it. So we could have done predictions based on who we think they're going to vote for, or we could do predictions based on who we think deserves it. We can clarify what each of us did our predictions upon. For me personally, I know I did it based on who I think should be in it. I don't know.
Same as me.
How about you, Z? He's taking a sip from his wine glass.
Sorry, that was my bad, folks. I didn't announce that sip, but I looked at it from a how it usually is, media and fans, and then my own personal opinions on how I think the season's going to play out for certain players.
Okay, so Z has a mix. Me and Sandy are more, we're Adam Silver. We're the NBA. So if we could start off by clarifying the rules. I know they do the draft, but regardless, there's still East and West All-Stars. So the way the lineups work, there's 2 guards and 3 forwards in each lineup, the start and bench. That's 10 guys on each, the East and the West. And then there's 2 extra wild cards that could be any position for each conference. So we want to do a massive reveal one at a time because if we go 1-1, that'll take too long. Who was complaining that they didn't go first a lot? Is it Z? You want to go first, Z?
Yeah, it was, but in this one, I just got back from an hour 30 drive.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'll
let
go
your
last.
mind go. Sani, start with the East All-Stars for you. We'll start with the East.
Oh, we're starting with the East. I have my West open. All right, just to clarify, there is a little biasm, I guess is fair to say, in my picks because I understand there are so many talented guys in the league and so many of them can be considered to be all-stars. It did take a while for me to make these lists.
He's already cleaning up for himself.
No.
When my
I'm
list
saying this.
wipes
his. No. Your list doesn't wipe anything. I'm just saying this. I will be honest. I have watched these guys more than I've watched other guys. There are some teams I don't watch frequently, but I do try to watch as many games as I can. All right? That's all I'm going to say. My starters, so my two guards, I got Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell. My forwards are Jason Tatum and Giannis, and my center is Joel Embiid. I know you don't have to have a center technically.
Yeah, there's no center. It's 3 forwards.
Yeah, you can have 3 forwards, but Embiid is going to be
okay.
Come on. For my reserves, am I doing reserves or you want me to go to your starters?
Do your entire team.
To my entire team. So now for my reserves. My first reserve is Kevin Durant. Obviously, KD is starter worthy, but I think Giannis and Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid all have a better case over him. Maybe not Embiid because he's injured, but whatever. And then I have Durant, I have DeRozan, I have Darius Garland, I have Tyrese Halliburton, I have Bam Adebayo, I have Pascal Siakam, and I have Jalen Brunson. Those are my 7 reserves.
I'm just gonna start off with mine. I was expecting a very different list. For my East starters, at guards, 2 guards, I have Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell. 3 forwards, I have Joel Embiid, Giannis, and Kevin Durant. As of right now, you can make a case that Tatum has the better all-star case, but we are also playing till February. I think KD's going to pick it up because it's KD.
That's a fair pick. I don't argue with it.
And then for my reserves, I have the 2 guards being Darius Garland, Tyrese Halliburton. My 3 forwards being Jason Tatum, Pascal Siakam, and Jaylen Brown. And my 2 wild cards being James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I wish I could put Jalen Brunson here. I'll be straight up because I think he has a very good bid to be an all-star. My snubs were... I think Bradley Beal was very close. He's 50-40-90 right now, and the Wizards have a winning record. Jalen Brunson. Right. Randall's not far behind Brunson, but I do think it's a long shot compared to these other snubs. Then you'd go guys like Bam and Jimmy if the Heat pick it up. I do think Bam, I think at the moment, has a better case. And DeMar is also a long shot with the Bulls underperforming severely.
But it's an all-star game, bro. It's not like an MVP case. It's an all-star game, and DeRozan's been balling.
I think.
You think DeRozan? Okay, we'll argue.
If we're talking about
the
best seasons, the one guy that I would be willing to swap out is Kyrie Irving. I think James Harden, even though he's injured, will come back.
I think Kyrie Irving shouldn't be on that list in general.
Well, I think
and James Harden as well.
Kyrie Irving as a player is all-star caliber. So if you want
as a player, he's a top 5 point guard in the league as a player. Sure, he's not on my list. Spoiler alert. But we're talking like availability. We're talking is he gonna play? Like he doesn't like.
That's a fair
even when he's
case.
been playing with the Brooklyn Nets. You know what? I'm arguing with you. We haven't even heard Z's list. My apologies. I love to argue.
All right, let's hear Z's list.
What? I will say
Thank
this
you,
about your
thank
hoop. I will say this about your list. It's not as terrible as I thought it would be.
Haha.
These are some good lists. I found a lot of similarities, I think, in ours, especially in the East. My starting lineup consists of Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, of course, Jason Tatum. I have Jason Tatum starting over Kevin Durant as of right now. I'll get into that in a second. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. Off the bench for my reserves, I have Kevin Durant, I have Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo, and Tyrese Halliburton. And my wild cards are actually James Harden and Kyrie Irving as well. Reasons being is because of obviously health issues and for Kyrie playing. But like Hoop just said, I have a strong feeling that if the Nets can just keep rising up in the East, which they're slowly starting to do, they look a little bit more comfortable. Ben Simmons is in form. Kyrie's going to keep playing at the level that he's playing, all-star caliber, and I could see him there. So that's my Eastern Conference.
Is Darius Garland on your list?
Darius Garland was an honorable mention. I was just like, I don't think he's going to be there over Harden and Kyrie, but I could see him there. I could totally see him there.
Well, in terms of the popularity vote, Kyrie Irving wins the popularity vote. But so I understand that from a long
It's not the popularity vote isn't what I'm completely basing it off.
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah.
at so what we have
Again,
is like
if he's
the
available,
availability
he's an
argument is
all-star.
there.
I
Right.
agree.
Right.
I agree.
But
Also,
I
it
just
would
think
help
that
if
with
Brooklyn
Darius
has a
Garland,
nice record.
Can
Yeah,
I be
I
honest
just think
with you
that
guys? And this is
Go
gonna
ahead.
be a hot take. This is gonna be a hot take. After everything that's happened this season, I'm not assuming Kyrie's playing every game. I'm saying what's happening right now, okay? Based on what's happening right now, I believe that by the time we get to the All-Star game, Ben Simmons will have a stronger case to be an All-Star than Kyrie Irving.
That's not ridiculous.
truly
That's
believe
not
that.
ridiculous to say that. Honestly,
I think it's
I don't
ridiculous
think
in
Kyrie
the
is-
sense of a player for player skill. But now that I think about it, I said that Kyrie would have the popularity vote. He does not have the popularity in the media. For the fans, he does.
No.
He does not have it in the
Exactly.
media. So
And here's the thing.
I also with Ben Simmons, that's a guy who, if he's the third option on Brooklyn or whatever, second best all-star type player on Brooklyn, I don't think he would get over DeMar. He would get over Bradley Beal.
He wouldn't. No. I don't think he's going to make it. I think he has a better case. That's what I'm saying. Here's why I'll say this. I love Kyrie Irving from the bottom of my heart. I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to get into any of the things he does because this is a podcast where I'm not going to talk about that because I don't care to talk about it. But I will say this. Kyrie always ends up doing something, whether it's his fault or not, that ends up keeping him out of games. And I'll say it just as my brother put it, because I remember every season I go into, I tell him the Brooklyn Nets are going to be contenders. I always say that because on paper they are contenders. And he always tells me, bro, no matter what you think, something is going to happen in that locker room. Whether you like it or not with that Brooklyn team. You can never put your money on the fact that those Kyrie Irving is going to play at least half a season even at this point. Because something always happens. And it goes against him sometimes, and I feel bad for the guy. I feel for him. People just want to hoop. I get that. But all I'm going to say is, I think you guys both putting Kyrie Irving on your All-Star teams is a little ridiculous in the sense of you guys both chose him as your wild card, not even your guard position. So you could have chosen any other Eastern Conference player. You're telling me, for example, both of you didn't have, let me remember your list. Both of you didn't have DeMar DeRozan, I believe. You guys think Kyrie Irving has more of a chance to take that wild card spot than DeMar DeRozan? I think that's ridiculous to say. I genuinely think that's a ridiculous take to say.
I don't think it's ridiculous considering the fact that going into me. So when I was looking at DeMar DeRozan, for example, I was like, oh, do I want to put him on the list? He's the best Bulls player. However, the Bulls are the 12th seed. So the way I'm looking at it is if your team isn't in that at least top 10 range, like especially when you're looking at wild cards, you're like, I'm thinking 7 to 10 spot. So I'm looking at the Bulls. We literally make, like, there's been 4 episodes we've made jokes about how mid the Chicago Bulls are.
Seeding should never be an issue with All-Stars.
Well, I think it should be when they're fringe. You look at the West. I don't care what seed LeBron is; he's making it because he has that kind of luxury. When you're talking about fringe guys, think of, DeMar DeRozan was not the same caliber player on the Spurs, but was he an All-Star on the Spurs? Maybe 1 year.
Listen, yeah, he was, and he was an All-Star on the Spurs. He was also, you know who else was an All-Star on the Spurs? DeJounte Murray. You know who else was an All-Star last year? LaMelo Ball. All these guys play on fringe playoff teams.
I'm saying
all these guys play on teams that barely missed the play-in. You could go to any single All-Star game and find examples of dudes who are within the 10 to 12 seed that still make the All-Star team.
I feel like they've all been fringe though. I think those are the injury, not injury replacement, but like people who are injured. Those
the wild
guys
cards.
Sneak
the
in.
wild cards
I
are the bench.
understand,
The wild cards are the bench.
But at the same time, when everyone is healthy in the East, as of right now, I believe everyone's healthy.
26 and bro, DeMar is averaging 26-2 on 51.7% shooting with 4.2 rebounds and 4.5 assists. The guy is balling, and if you go look at his recent games, he's only been getting better. He had a slow start to the season on top of all of this. I'm telling you, I understand your guys' point, and I would take the seeding into consideration if we're talking a end of the year award. But this is the All-Star game where it's only halfway through the season. We have seen teams flip the switch like it's nothing. For example, the 2020-2021 Washington Wizards, who I watched every single game of. Did you know they didn't even have a chance of making the play-in after the All-Star game because they were that bad? And then they went 16-2, some random win streak. That's why I don't really like to take seeding into consideration, especially when you're just below the play-in or something. And if you look at the seeding in the Eastern and Western Conference, it's all so close right now. It's not a huge stretch between any team except for maybe the top 2. And then everybody else is a couple of games between each other. We saw the Utah Jazz drop like 7 seeds after going on a 3-game losing streak. Especially now, I think seeding should not be considered, especially that we're doing early. If you want to say the Bulls look bad, sure, but we're talking about individual players, especially with All-Stars. All-Stars should not have as big of an impact in terms of winning as it does with end of the year awards, and that's why I think DeMar DeRozan makes it over Kyrie Irving. I'm just saying I don't see how Kyrie's there. Also with Harden, when's the last game we saw Harden play? And when is the next time we're going to see Harden play? Both cases. When's the next time we're going to see Harden play? And when's the last time we saw Harden play?
That's right. However, when I look at James Harden, I look at the start of the season that he had. Everybody was sitting here saying, "Oh my God, MVP Harden has finally found its form again." So I'm giving James Harden the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving James Harden the benefit of the doubt in terms of this team is not going to be losing games if James Harden isn't on the court, as we saw with Joel, Tyrese Maxey, and James Harden being out, and I believe Brooklyn not being the team to get it done. With that, am I right? Yeah. So when I'm talking about
Brooklyn and Orlando,
things like of that nature, Brooklyn and Orlando, right? But you're talking about DeMar DeRozan, and he is putting up great numbers. We all know DeMar DeRozan is the best player on the Bulls. Like, that's just by far. That's just what it is. And I appreciate the love for DeMar. And I could totally see if what you're saying is true, Sandy, and the media is like, you know what, we're putting DeMar in. I ain't got no issue with that. I'm just saying with certain guys that are out here, and you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at the Western Conference. The Western Conference is still more stacked than the East. The East is more competitive, I think, and that's just how it's been. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, from now until February, is Brooklyn going to keep rising because Kyrie just got back from that suspension? And your brother is right on all levels. You don't know if he's gonna be there. You don't know if something else is gonna pop up overnight. You don't know. But as long as Kyrie's on the floor with these guys, it's Kyrie and it's KD. Those are your biggest scoring options. That's going to be the biggest difference maker in winning you some games besides defense, which is all Ben Simmons. So I just think that is the logic that I'm looking at. The media, the fans, we're going to be looking at Brooklyn if they're a top 5 seed in February and say, who's doing it? Oh, well, Ben's probably just playing his role, but Kyrie and Kevin Durant are still the offensive juggernauts that they've always been. So I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Kyrie.
Well, I do,
especially given that he's been out for a few games too.
Yeah, so with Brooklyn gaining steam, I think if they're in playoff position, a top 6 seed, it's not crazy that they'd give a nod to a second player, whether it's Ben, who takes a crazy leap, or it's Kyrie. I would assume it's Kyrie. And the only reason I'm not willing to completely rule out Kyrie is because I'm pretty sure that all of us will have Anthony Davis as an all-star starter for the West. And he was almost ruled out by everyone who has a microphone to talk about sports. So
but here's the difference with AD and here's the difference with Kyrie Irving. AD came back and started making an impact. I, number one, haven't seen that impact from Kyrie Irving yet. And number two, I will say this. You guys both fading away from Kyrie Irving for a sec, you guys both put James Harden on your list. The same reasoning you guys gave me that DeMar DeRozan isn't an all-star, you guys are looking at Philadelphia's success after James Harden got injured. Do we not remember what we were talking about, how Philadelphia was
I think that was
losing
more of a
games
knock
like
on
crazy?
Joel Embiid because he was out of shape.
Sure.
I just think there's a lot of
guess who was a part of that? So it wasn't Harden's fault. Harden was still playing good, right? Okay, I could say the same thing about DeRozan with Chicago. Like, it's the same narrative. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not counting out the 76ers. I'm saying it's the same narrative where it's like you guys aren't giving DeRozan the benefit of the doubt because of the Bulls' positioning in the
I would say the same.
Right?
I'm not giving.
But when James
we're
Harden,
not giving Jimmy Butler the same thing on the Heat. Like, it's just.
I don't think. But why is James Harden there? Why can you agree that James Harden can be there and not DeRozan?
Because James Harden
because your reasoning
has the numbers as a I don't know how many points he's averaging, but he's averaging like 10 assists.
He's not. It's not great. Go look at it.
He's averaging 22.
It's like
he's averaging 22 and 10, which is top 3 in the league in passing. So if Philly climbs their way back when James gets this is all
again, this is I think a lot of it
their way back and James is playing pretty well. I'm saying we're looking at James Harden in a different light than we were looking at him in Houston. He's not the number 1 option on this team. We know that. He's the facilitator. So if he's facilitating once he gets back and Philly starts clicking on all cylinders, rising up the Eastern Conference, they're going to credit it mostly to Joel Embiid's a great play because he's the number 1 option. But James Harden is still feeding guys like Maxey, feeding guys like Tobias, feeding all their shooters and things of that nature. And he's going to be if he continues on this pace of averaging 10 assists a game, he'd be a top 3 in the league in assists. So that's good enough to get Chris Paul into an all-star game in recent years. I'm pretty sure it'd be good enough to get James Harden in it, especially in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's good enough. It's the East is not as weak. The West is not as weak. The NBA is not as weak as it used to be, where numbers like that can just be guaranteed you in the spot. James Harden, if he played like that, through the whole season, I would say yes, James Harden. He has been injured for far too long, and he will stay injured. He's going to miss 6 weeks? How many weeks do you have of basketball before the All-Star game in general? That's like
Hasn't it
1/3
already
of the
been
time
like
you have.
3?
He's going to miss it.
The only reason I put him on my list is because I looked up all the injury reports before we did this show, and I thought he was returning somewhat soon. That's the only reason I had him on this list. If he was going to be out for a while, I'd leave him out.
Right.
I'm not sure what the injury report is. I'll be honest, I haven't checked on James Harden's injury report in 2 weeks. I just haven't heard anything, okay? So even if he comes back next week, sure, missing a whole month of basketball to me, especially in this league, unless you're like for example, LeBron James can miss the whole season. He's still going to get voted into the All-Star game, right? I think James Harden doesn't have that privilege anymore. It's not Houston James Harden where no matter what, he's going to get voted in. I think there's new generation where with these media votes and these fan votes, James Harden will still get a bunch, but younger kids are starting to look to other people. You know, Jason Tatum, the Jaylen Browns, the whatever, like the new wave, the new generation. I feel like James Harden is not going to get that same kind of love he got when he was in Houston, where he's just going to get millions and millions and millions of votes. He's going to be like top 3 in voting. He's not going to. Let's be honest.
Do you think Jaylen Brown's a better player than DeMar DeRozan?
No.
So why is he on the All-Star list?
He's not.
You don't have him as an All-Star?
I don't. He's a guard, right? We're considering Jaylen Brown to be a guard.
So that's our split right there. I thought you had Jaylen Brown on there. Our split is that me and Z are taking into account records. I could recall years where a team, whether it's Andrew Wiggins starting in the All-Star game last year, a team with a very good record will a lot of times have 2 All-Stars. Even if the second All-Star on the team is not as good as a player who is leading a weaker team. I see the Bulls as a weak team. I predicted it from the start of the season. I thought Levine was going to go to the Heat because I thought the Heat needed a boost, which it really looks like they need right now. That would be a crazy prediction if they actually get him. But I do think the Bulls are going to part ways with someone very soon. And DeMar DeRozan is not a game breaker where it's like he is an all-star starter lock for the last 5-6 years. He's obviously he's an all-star caliber player for sure. But like we said, there's just a new wave of talent coming in. It's hard to leave Tyrese Halliburton off. If we're talking about just guys who are wild cards. That's what makes it so hard. The issue is there's so many new guys coming in. Darius Garland seems like, I know Z didn't have him on there. It feels like he's, an all-star caliber player with how he's shooting and how he's playing with the Cavs.
I'm high on Darius.
Yeah, he's set.
It's just, it's nitpicking. And I do think they're still taking records into account.
It is.
If you want to put Jaylen Brown over DeRozan, and you want to consider Jaylen, because I'm considering Jaylen Brown to be a guard. I didn't even have him in contention with DeRozan. If we're considering them to both be the same position, Jaylen Brown is over DeRozan for me because
as a small
it's a
forward.
major difference. Like 15-4 to whatever the Bulls record is, that's a major difference, and Jaylen Brown plays a huge part in that. That's where I can agree with you. Kyrie Irving and James Harden do not have an impact on the Sixers and the Nets record like that. Not so far. They haven't done. When the Nets were winning, Kyrie Irving was out, and you can blame that on the fact that Steve Nash wasn't the coach anymore. Sure, I don't care what. That's a whole bunch of ifs, and ifs. I'm talking about guarantees. I'm talking about things that actually happen. Kyrie Irving and James Harden haven't had an impact on their record as much as you guys are making it out to be. In the only
reason I'm saying it's an if because there is like 2-3 months of basketball before.
No, 100%. We're doing early predictions though. We're doing right now though. I'm saying right now.
Wait,
if we
what?
were to choose the All-Star team,
if I were to choose players,
if I
were to choose players right now, Kyrie and Harden are not on the list. I thought we were predicting February.
I
thought we were doing like early All-Star teams.
I thought we were predicting.
But even then, but to be fair, don't trip. My list doesn't change.
Okay.
To be fair, I would still think those guys would make it
Mine
there.
would change.
That's a
if
little
we're
mishap.
going early.
But still, even then, I'm still sticking with what I got now. Even then, I would not change Harden or Kyrie. Harden is the only person you can make a case to me for. But even then, the injuries, him being out for that long, I've seen many cases where players that play at Harden's level in previous years don't make it due to injuries like that, where they miss a month, where they miss 2 months. We've seen that before. I'm not going to give Harden the benefit of the doubt because, again, he's not a top 3 player in this league, top 5 player. He's not even top 10 player in this league anymore. So he doesn't get that privilege of missing a few months and still making an All-Star team. No, because there's so much talent in the league right now where if you're not playing, you're not going to make it to that February weekend. Let's just be honest here. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, but you also said like a couple shows ago, if not the last one, when people were saying, "Oh, well, the Nets are winning because Kyrie's out," but you were shooting that down. I shot that down.
No,
too,
that's what I just said. You can say
like,
it's because of Steve Nash, but at the end of the day, that's a bunch of if statements. I believe if Kyrie was there, they would still win, but that's my belief doesn't get you in the All-Star game. I'm talking about what I know. DeRozan is on the Bulls, and the Bulls are borderline playing. I agree with that. Yes, they're not. The record is not great, but when I'm looking at All-Stars, I'm looking at players that deserve to be in the All-Star game because of how they play on the court. When we look at at end of the season rewards such as MVP, you have to take into account winning. You have to take into account the impact of winning the basketball game. But the All-Star game is entertainment. The All-Star game is about guys who entertain the most on the court. They're the highest level players. Sure, but he's not playing.
Yeah,
he's not playing.
Office.
That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
All right, so we just have this, like, me and Z are thinking. Obviously, that's just a mishap between us. There's a brick wall. Me and Z are thinking, oh, Kyrie's going to play enough games. He's going to be Kyrie Irving to mostly, right, to that kind of extent.
Yeah.
We just got to move on to the West, because we could argue forever. So
I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it. Also, announce my 2 guards are, then my 3 forwards are, and then same for the bench, just to keep it organized.
Was I not doing that?
I don't think for the bench, just to keep it organized.
I don't think.
Okay, but my bench was in that format, just for you guys. Now, Western Conference, my starting lineup, I think this one should be universal. Steph Curry and Luka are my guards. LeBron and Anthony Davis are my forwards, and then Jokic is my center. Yes, there's 3 forwards. I just like to say center, but Jokic would have made it anyway, okay. My reserves. Here's where it gets a little tricky, and I applied this rule to this one specific player. It's only one spot. I actually chose 3 players that could be considered guards, but one of them, I'm considering them to be a forward because they did the same thing to Jimmy Butler, where they considered Jimmy Butler to be a forward, and it got him in the All-Star game. But Jimmy Butler plays the 2. We know him as a 2. So I have SGA and Ja Morant as my guards. And I put Devin Booker as one of my forwards because he's like a shooting guard / small forward type of player, I guess. They did it to Jimmy Butler. That's the only reason, because he's so good. Like, all 3 of those guys are so good this season, and it was so hard to choose between them. If I had to cut one of them out, it would be Devin Booker. But there isn't, like, I had to put D-Book in the All-Star game, and I'm listing him as one of my forwards. Because Jimmy Butler got the same treatment. And I'm sure there's many examples of other guys getting that same treatment. Shooting guards only, not point guards. So I got SGA and Ja Morant as my 2 guards off the bench. And then my 3 forwards are Devin Booker, Sabonis, and Towns. And my 2 wildcard picks are Zion Williamson and De'Aaron Fox.
So I understand that it's an obvious pick and it's going to happen. But if you were basing this off of today's All-Stars and what you think is going to be based off today, is LeBron an All-Star starter to you? Or is it just because you're expecting him to be LeBron James, just like me and Z were expecting? I'm trying to trip you up here. I understand he's going to be an All-Star starter. But your logic is a little trippy right now. It's a little trippy.
I only chose LeBron James because, like I said, I told you guys, if we were talking about the top 3, top 5 players in the league, the treatment is different. I know it's LeBron James. That's why I said it in my I said it with my logic and reasoning. By the way,
I'm not
for
disagreeing.
The Harden and
the
Rosen and the thing before. No, but I did mention we're not talking about LeBron James.
Yeah,
they
get
the
different
whole
treatment.
season
They
and
get
still be an
different
All-Star.
treatment. Yes.
Like, I'm taking into account the treatment, so that's why I put LeBron there. Because if I didn't put LeBron James there, at that point, I'm just lying to myself. And saying I'm not lying to myself when I keep guys like Harden or Kyrie off the All-Star game. That's a chance. There's a chance of that. That's like that's like them telling me a hurricane is coming and I'm going outside in a shirt and shorts hoping that it won't. Like, I'm like, oh, you know what? There's a chance it won't happen. It's gonna happen. LeBron James is gonna be an All-Star starter. Let's just be honest here, okay? That's why I put him on my list. I thought you were gonna argue with me about like putting Sabonis or something.
Well,
I'm surprised you haven't talked about my list yet.
To be fair, I mean, I'm gonna list off mine, but Harden last year was an All-Star, even though he had a relatively down year for him.
A lot of guys are All-Stars where they like the next season they don't get that like Westbrook.
Well, I'm just saying Harden has gotten that treatment. So yeah, whatever.
Has like Westbrook got that treatment on the Rockets.
Predicting whether or not he's going to get that treatment is difficult.
I think it's not as difficult as you think because when a voter, especially when coaches and stuff in the media go to vote and they have all these difficult decisions to make because, bro, you have to remember that the league, again, is so talented. They'll look at all the cons to Harden and be like, there's a reason for me not to vote for him.
And he's the coaches see 22 and 10 on good efficiency with the 6 or 7 a top 5 seed. It's hard to leave him out. But I'm gonna go to my list because we could argue on that for days. My Western All-Star starters: 2 guards, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic. I forgot to mention before, I have Giannis as my East captain. I do have Steph as my West captain because he's just shooting out of this world. My 3 forwards, I have Jokic, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Crazy, but once again, the Lakers, I don't care how bad they are, they're going to have 2 All-Star starters. I think AD and LeBron are pretty much locks. For my reserves, the 2 guards, I have Ja and Shea. 3 forwards, I have Brandon Ingram, Domantas Sabonis, and Paul George. My 2 wild cards are Devin Booker and Damian Lillard. I did not switch Book to a forward spot. I do think Ingram at the moment, I mean, he's shooting out of this world. He's not averaging more points than Zion, but I do think you could argue he is the best player on the Pelicans. And while it's not going to, right, Zion wins the popularity contest, all right, this is my list. This is who I want to be an all-star, or who I think should be an all-star. I think it's Brandon Ingram. A couple snubs. De'Aaron Fox was very close. I think if Jaren Jackson Jr. started the year with the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies, let's say they're top 3 seed, either him or Bane. I really wanted Desmond Bane to be an all-star. I think if you put Bane in the East, he's an all-star over Kyrie. I think Desmond Bane really deserves to be an all-star, but there is absolutely no room. There's other guys like the 3 Timberwolves.
What makes Brandon Ingram?
What?
What makes Brandon Ingram over?
Because the Pelicans can be a very high seed, and he'd be the best player on that team.
But Memphis is a high seed.
Huh? No, Brandon Ingram
would
would be the best player on the Pelicans, I'm saying. Where Bane is the second best player on the Grizzlies.
Okay, I mean, I don't. Okay,
I think Brandon Ingram's better than Desmond Bane.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm not hating on it. I think I would
agree.
take Desmond Bane.
I think Ingram has more
but...
responsibility than Bane.
Yeah, Desmond Bane.
I think
like
Desmond Bane still does more on.
What does Zion do over Ingram then for you? Or what does Zion do better than Bane?
It's not about. I'm not hating on the Brandon Ingram being the number 1 option or the best player. I'm not hating on that. I think Desmond Bane has just had such an amazing season.
Is Bane on your list?
No, he's a snub for me for sure. Like he's snubbed. I'm snubbed for him, but it's the fact that you're taking like Brandon Ingram over him.
So why did you take Zion over him? For having this debate.
Because I think I'm not hating on the fact. Like I put Zion because of. I think Zion is an all-star to me. I think
Desmond Bane is also apparently an all-star. Like, why do you have Zion?
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I'm not. I just told you I would take. I'm not hating on your Brandon Ingram take.
But why?
But I think it goes Zion, Desmond Bane, then Brandon Ingram. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to take Brandon Ingram, I don't agree with it. I'm not gonna call you stupid for it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I don't. Agree
Wait,
with
are
it.
we saying based on players or based on popularity?
Based on players, I still think I would take Zion over Brandon Ingram.
All right, I think for this season, the way they're playing, I take Brandon Ingram. But that's me.
Like, but my point is, I'm not hating on the Brandon Ingram take. I think it goes Zion, Desmond Bane, Brandon Ingram in terms of the All-Star game, and they're very close.
All right. Also, a part of it too was.
It's time for us to pause.
Hold on. A part of it was also the availability issues with Zion. There's a very easy chance he goes down. If this was something where Zion was, playing significantly better than Ingram, I'd take him no matter what. But I know Zion is also someone who has struggled to stay on the court. I think Ingram is much more steady. That also played in factor. I am projecting for February, so I'm saying...
Wait, so you took into the account that Zion might get injured, and that's why you didn't want to put him there?
It was a very small thing I took into account, but I think Ingram right now is playing better.
I was going to ask, so you didn't take that into account with Harden and...
No.
Okay.
Anywho, now it's time for us to pause for the Honorable ZZ Huncho as he takes the honorable sip from this wine glass. Thank you. Now, my list. My captain is none other than light-skinned Jesus, and might I just bring in this side note. I had Steph Curry top 5 going into the season, and these two thought I was crazy, and he's balling like he's out of his freaking mind right now. Better than his 2016 stats. Let me just throw that out. But that's my captain, so I love you guys. Anyway, Luka, obviously, right after that. LeBron James kicks off our forwards list. Anthony Davis also is in there, and Nikola Jokic. You already know the vibes. The reserves is where it gets tricky. For me, I don't understand the D-Book hate. I have Devin Booker first off the bench, and a small reason why I'm putting them there is mainly because they are the best team in the West, and it's the West, and I'm tired of D-Book not getting his credit. Now, moving forward, John Morant comes in secondly. And then for my forwards, we have Zion Williamson. I also have Brandon Ingram there, and I have Sabonis. For my wild card, I have SGA first because I got to say, I got a feeling that the Thunder are going to be able to make a little bit of noise come All-Star break.
Even if they're not, he's in there. Even if he's not, they're in there.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like SGA is the one exception, the one time, because I know we just finished talking about how we're like, we're taking records into account. SGA is my only exception to this, and I feel like the league is also going to be like, you know what? He's got the buzz. SGA is literally building the buzz. I'm seeing him on House of Highlights and Bleacher Report. He's getting that recognition. Sandy, I don't know if you can vouch. You see it too. Hopefully that you do. But he's getting that recognition. And I feel like fans are finally starting to really get behind him in this big way. like low key the same way they were behind Josh Giddey for a moment in time. But SGA and he's just balling, so I have him there. Next up is Kawhi for my wild card because it's Kawhi. But honestly, I should have put him a little bit lower. Hey, don't flame me. Don't flame me. I do not believe confidently that Kawhi Leonard will be in the All-Star game this year. So take him off your list. Let me just say that.
That is bad.
Don't tell me what to do. Let me just say that. Paul George is also there.
You don't believe confidently?
Obviously, the Clippers.
Dog, I'm taking Anthony Simons. I'm taking Jeremy Grant over Kawhi Leonard.
I'm taking Dame. I'm taking Dame over him.
I'm taking
Ivica Zubats over Kawhi Leonard.
I'm also okay.
I am taking Russell Westbrook over Kawhi Leonard for the All-Star game.
Word.
I'm taking Westbrook over Kawhi Leonard for the All-Star game.
You hear that, Kawhi? Show up to work. Maybe we wouldn't have this discussion. Anyway,
is that crazy to say?
De'Aaron Fox is the last person. It's not crazy to say at all. De'Aaron Fox is the last person to make the wild card simply because I love De'Aaron Fox and what he's been doing. I like Mike Brown and what he's been doing with the
Wait, how many wild cards do you have?
I have like 4. Technically 3 if I'm taking Kawhi.
No, bro, it's a 7-man bench.
Have 2.
We just finished saying about how talented the league is.
So
I have a few honorable mentions.
You can't change that. That's what makes it hard to make the All-Star game. You only can have 2 wild cards off the bench.
I understand that. I got a couple honorable mentions. Kawhi's in that boat and De'Aaron Fox is in that boat.
So who are the 2?
You're saying this is your roster. Who is your roster? I don't know your roster.
SGA and PG. SGA and PG are my wild cards. Those are 2 of my wild cards.
I'll be straight.
De'Aaron Fox and Kawhi Leonard.
Wait, so then what's your bench? Your 2 guards were John, Devin Booker. Who are your 3 forwards?
Because I would not take PG as a wild card. I have him as a forward.
And Sabonis.
Zion, Ingram, and Sabonis.
But PG's hurt right now. He's out for indefinitely. I'm sorry. I'm looking at what's in front of me and the records. The Clippers are slowly teetering out of the 5th seed.
Why did we choose James Harden?
Because James Harden already showed us what he was doing. That's a whole different story.
Paul George showed us what he was doing too.
No. The Clippers literally are the most dysfunctional team probably in LA right now. The Lakers look like they haven't figured out. The Clippers, on the other hand, they can't get guys to show up to work. They can't get guys to show up healthy. John Wall's been kind of iffy. They're the 5th seed. They're the 5th seed.
Paul George is the only
Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are out indefinitely.
Paul George is the only sniff of offense on that team. They're one of the worst offenses in the league. If he was not there, they would be poverty. Absolute
There's a lot of contradiction. There's a lot of contradiction.
Hold on, I gotta talk to Saini first. He's got Cat and no Dame.
What the hell do you have?
No. Listen. I explained this in my TikTok video.
Where is Dame?
No, listen. I explained this in my TikTok video.
Go ahead.
I would have 110% taken Damian Lillard like this. He's on my fantasy team, and I look at him every day. Like that's one of the guys I'm truly paying attention to in this league. He's already been through 2 injuries. He's on his 2nd injury right now, and he's out indefinitely. I don't know when he's gonna come back. And it's the same injury. It's always his thigh. So that's why I'm like I hate to say it, bro, but he's on my fantasy team. Like I'm seeing him every night not playing. He has not played enough games. And the games he's played, he's been a little inefficient.
February.
I'm predicting to February too. I'm predicting he's not going to play a lot of games, bro. Like he might get out again, bro. He keeps getting injured every 5 games. Like he's very injury prone right now, and people aren't talking about that. That's what I wanted to mention after he was talking. The reason I took Damian Lillard out my list was not due to the fact that Damian Lillard is not an All-Star. There's a reason I drafted him in like the 3rd round of fantasy. I believe in Damian Lillard, and I'm wearing an Oklahoma hat. I hate him, but I believe in him. Okay, he's injured too much. He's injured too much this season. Like it seems like every single like jab step he takes, there's a risk at him doing some random calf strain, thigh strain that keeps him out for a couple of games. I don't like it. I hate to see it, and that's why I hate to leave him off this list. The reason I put Cat over him is because I needed to choose another forward. Cat. I hate Cat. You guys think I'd like to put Cat on my list, but he's playing good. He's playing good basketball.
Can you list off your bench?
Yeah. I'll just pull up my phone, my list. I got SGA and I got SGA, John Morant, D Book, Sabonis, Karl Anthony Towns, Zion, and De'Aaron Fox.
So yeah, I mean, Cat is not. I don't think he's the best player on the Timberwolves right now. It's really
who is?
They don't have anyone. Like Ant is not playing well.
Talent wise, it's Ant, but Ant is not playing well. So who is the best?
Cat's
player on
not playing that well. He's getting cooked on defense every possession. He could shoot.
He's great.
Dude, he could shoot.
Offensively, he's great. That's why I'm looking at like offensively. He's great.
What about Paul George?
Paul George out indefinitely, like she said. I was going to put Paul George on my thing.
Wait.
People get injured all the time.
Dude, who? They do. Okay, so let me just stop. Let me break from this. I got a question to y'all. What's up with the D book? What's up with the D book hate?
It's not D-Book
I have
hate.
him on
It's
my
that
arm.
genre.
I have
It's
him.
that. It's that.
I have him.
It's that. Well,
I listed him
He's-
as a forward to put him in. If anything,
Oh,
if
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
want me
yeah,
to
yeah,
D-Book,
right, right.
He's
if
on
you
my
don't want me,
list.
if you think
He's on my list.
if you think D-Book,
Why do you have him as a
you're saying
wild card?
D-Book,
Because
if
Shea
you
and
think
Ja
D-Book
are
can't be
having
a-
ridiculous
Shea and Ja,
seasons.
that is the
okay,
coldest.
who?
That's like the
They're
least hot
having-
take. That's like a lukewarm take by Hoop to say that
Dude,
Ja and
dude.
SGA are better than him this season.
So
That's a
so
lukewarm
let
take.
me get this straight. I'm just confused. Who's the best player on the
The
Suns?
Phoenix Suns are better than the Oklahoma City Thunder.
As a team,
As a-
who's the best
as a
player on the
basketball
Suns?
team.
Okay,
Who's
so-
the best
so-
player
so-
on the
so-
Thunder? Like what?
So I don't get this. Devin Booker's the best player on the Suns. The Suns are the top seed in the West. He's 10th in the league in scoring. He's shooting it at a great efficiency.
where's-
I don't
where's
understand why he's a
Shea?
wild
Shea
card.
is like-
I don't
Shea is
understand why he's a
third.
wild card.
Shea is third. Shea is
Shea's
third.
third in the league in scoring, but he's they're not winning games. I don't get it. They're
But look
losing
how
by 4 points every
efficiently
night.
he's doing it. But look how efficiently
It's-
he's
It's
doing
great.
it.
It's great. I'm
Look
sorry.
at efficiency.
I am the type of guy where it's like you can be putting up great points. If Luka Doncic was putting up 35 a game and losing, it kind of sucked. But I could see him as a wild card, definitely. I wouldn't see him off the bench for somebody.
Did you just
who
say
is
Luka
at the top of the
Doncic averaging
offense.
35 points would be a
It's-
wild card?
Averaging
35
35
points
and
a
losing
game would
and
make you a wild card.
losing
You can
and
lose every single
losing.
game if you're doing it on good
That is a
losing.
nasty
efficiency.
take. That's a nasty take.
That's a nasty take,
so,
bro.
So what? We giving out participation trophies now just because you're putting up great numbers and losing? Is this the Jerry?
No.
you
It's
guys
an
are giving a
all-star
Jerry West
game.
award.
It's an
The
all-star
Once
game,
again,
bro.
this
It's an
is
all-star
different.
game.
Z, I agree with you. Remember, I brought up this point with DeMar DeRozan. If this was someone who was not a lock, someone who's playing very well, best player on the team, but their team is not doing. Shea is leaps and bounds as a season. The season he's having is leaps and bounds above almost like every player in the league aside from like 3 or 4. He is on this.
And two of those three are guards in the West,
Yes,
so he can't
exactly.
start.
It's Ja. It's I'm sorry. It's Luka, Steph. Shea is very, very close in terms of the season they're having.
I'm all for it. Like I said, I love Shea. I'm just saying, I think that when push comes to shove and we get to February, I would not be surprised if Devin Booker's.
I wouldn't
the
be
one
surprised either.
over
But I was
SGA.
talking about
I
my
would be
list.
surprised
Talking
because
about my
I'm
list,
watching
I want
every
Shea.
single Thunder game.
No, because
Every
you
single
know
Thunder
what
game,
happens
he's
in the
not
media.
showing any
People-
signs of
People
regression.
put D Book in the MVP conversation just because the Suns are really good. That's what they do. I think Book will. I think there's a very good chance Book
Appropriately
will
so.
be. I don't think it's appropriately so. I remember. I take into
okay,
account
so when
winning
we're
bias.
looking
I
at
put
the
Jalen
Phoenix-
Brown over DeMar DeRozan in terms of winning bias, but I don't think
I'm
Devin
sorry,
Book is.
but I
Devin
can't.
Book has been a great player on
I
a very bad
understand
team
winning
before. They
bias.
just have a good team right now. Has Devin Booker
understand winning
changed his
bias
game
when it-
now that he's winning? Has Devin
I
Booker?
understand winning
Is
bias
that- okay,
with end of the
So
year.
Devin Booker's been putting up 70
When-
on
I'm
bad
just
teams
saying.
for a minute. He just has a better team right now.
Right. What I'm saying. So with Devin Booker, right? We've examined the Phoenix Suns very closely over the course of the last couple of months, and what we have said so far, if my memory serves me correct, is we've said that there is a significant regression in Chris Paul. Saying
I said they'd
that.
be good.
He was right. We can see it. Right. We both said the Suns were going to be good because I personally wasn't counting out the fact that D Book is still going to be their number one option, and he's been doing great so far. DeAndre Ayton also wants to be there occasionally. So he obviously mentally can't even be in the right space to be the best player. So I'm looking at this team and I'm just like, I think personally it's disrespectful to look at D Book and say, oh, because you're not averaging 5 more points, putting up a little bit more shots, things of this nature, because you're in a certain
I'm
position.
not trying
I'm
to
just
hate
saying.
on Book. I am just trying to give Shea his props. Shea
I
is having
I
a
understand
generational
that. I just
season. It's not about Book being as a wild card. It's who he's going up against. To look at Shea's stats right now and tell me that winning more games will it gives someone the
Look
nod.
at Shea's team and look at their record. The fact that Oklahoma even has a chance at the play-in is ridiculous. And I'm saying that as an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. Who the hell do we have other than Shea? But look at Devin Booker's team. Like, Team 6, that's why with the All-Star game, yes, a player can have an impact on winning for sure. And yes, in a small, marginal case, that should be taken into account. For example, I would not take a player that hasn't won a game this season, or I want to take a player off the Houston Rockets. Sure. But winning is a team attribute. Winning is a team thing. It's not an individual thing. An individual can have an impact on winning, correct. But that impact on winning Devin Booker has isn't so big that it puts him over guys like Shea Gilgeous or John Morant when you're talking about the All-Star game.
I think we could come back to this in February and see that because I keep wanting to let this be known because I feel like Z would victory lap it if it happens, and I feel like there's a good chance of it happening. I just don't understand how the media would take Book over Shea because of the record. We've seen it before with Wiggins. He does not deserve to be an all-star starter. I think the only thing that winning should be taken into account of when looking at the all-star team is those secondary stars. Jaylen Brown leading his own team, probably not an all-star, but since he's contributing to winning with Jason Tatum, that makes him a good all-star pick. Same thing if the Brooklyn Nets were the first or second, shouldn't be an all-star starter, but you get what I mean. If the Brooklyn Nets were a 1 or 2 seed, that means Kyrie Irving is probably going to make it, even though DeMar DeRozan might be having a better season. But if his team is worse, that's when you give the nod to a secondary star like a Desmond Bane. I don't think that in terms of the 1A guys that are, it's easier to see what they're doing with their team because they're leading it and they're the main catalyst. It's hard to separate their play and their ranking just because their team is better. Like Shea has been unconscious.
I think we should move on to the top 5 point guards because at this point we're just not going to agree.
All right. Well, that was.
No, I don't agree with what you just. I agree with what you just said. I mean, like in terms of like, I don't think anybody's going to change their opinion on their. Kawhi on your All Star.
That was crazy.
Ridiculous. I'm not going to lie.
That was crazy.
It's ridiculous. And then he put 4 wild cards.
Once again.
He changed the NBA's rules because players got
y'all overreact so much.
That was crazy.
Why can't y'all just be like, oh, okay?
No,
because when y'all say stuff, I'm like, word. I feel you. I see what you're saying. I see where you're coming from.
That's your
but
problem.
when I say something,
you got to get
on.
on.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
did you hear what he said? Run it back, guys. Run it back. Replay.
No. Z, like I'll be honest with you, like on some real stuff.
Guess what's more entertaining?
No, not even the entertainment stuff. Not even the entertainment stuff. Genuinely, like that wasn't an overreaction how we reacted to the Kawhi Leonard. That was an underreaction of anything.
Wasn't.
That was an underreaction of anything.
Hey,
Kawhi Leonard, he played like 4 games and he got like 15 in them.
Please drop a comment in the YouTube section. How did you react to Kawhi Leonard? Did we underreact or overreact?
And then after you drop that comment, drop another comment and say, how did you react when he explained what he meant? And then ask yourself, was it worth all that BS? All right,
it was
cool.
definitely not.
You could literally, it could literally be the most great. It could be the like some Albert Einstein logic, and it still wouldn't. It would still deserve a reaction like that.
Okay.
Because there is no reason why Kawhi Leonard should be on that All-Star list.
Okay.
At all.
So
like, no reason.
The now we're going into our top 5 point guards list. I was thinking about this the other day because I ranked the top 10 point guards to start the year. It was very loaded back then, and I think it's even more loaded now based on the emergence of some players. I think outside of the tier A guys, which are Steph and Luka in either order, I think Steph's clearly having the better. Oh, it's not even that. It's crazy because like Steph's having the best season ever, and Luka. I think Luka's behind, but it's just crazy how it's that close. But then besides those two, I think there's a genuine fight between 6 or 7 guys for those next 3 spots. Those guys being John Morant, Trae Young, Kyrie Irving, Dame Lillard, De'Aaron Fox, James Harden, Darius Garland, Tyrese Halliburton. Like, all these guys are balling. We're not even including Shea. We're saying Shea is a shooting guard. But there's just so much talent. We want to try to rank the top 5 point guards in the NBA 1 through 5. This is based as a player, not the season they're having, even though that can play a factor into it. But we're not basing this off this season, just as a player, top 5. So this is one where we could definitely go the reverse 5 through 1, rotate.
Do we want to rotate or we want to just stay off the list?
We could just stay off the list. I mean, it's more suspenseful when we do a 5 through 1. It's more suspenseful.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
All right, we want to go Z, Saney, me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go for it. Give me
5,
your 5.
Right? At number 5 for the NBA top point guard list, I have Ja Shiesty Morant.
Saney?
About to get interesting.
I thought it was you. My bad. I have Kyrie Irving.
At number 5, I have Damian Lillard.
Z?
At number 4, it's number 4, right?
Yes.
Number 4, I have Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh, God. I love him so much, but that is... Okay. I gotta contain myself.
Honestly, wait, let me take that back. Let me take that back.
No. I'll take back.
We had a whole while to prepare.
We got a whole list.
I read it wrong.
Okay, he read it wrong.
Read it wrong.
Oh, who is it then?
Can I take it back now?
If you
Trae Young. My bad.
If you read it wrong.
How is Halliburton
I
on the
did.
list in gen? Is Halliburton higher?
How do you?
All right,
How do you mean?
Oh, Sandy
He's
go.
leading-
Sandy go.
What?
At number 4, I have John Morant.
Number 4, I have Trae Young.
Okay.
At number 3, I have Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh my god. You know what's crazy?
What?
I'm gonna help him out with
Okay.
that argument, but I completely disagree.
I know you're gonna help me out. I know you are. That's the crazy part. I can't wait to have it. I can't wait to have it.
No.
No.
I'm gonna try to argue for him.
At number 3, I have Damian Lillard.
Number
Bro's
3,
leading the
number
league in assists,
3 I
and it's a
have
problem.
John Morant.
Number 2 is
At
Juancho.
number 2, I have Luka Doncic.
At number 2, I have Luka.
At number 2, I have Luka.
We all have Steph number
Yeah.
1. Let's not
Yeah.
even do the
Yeah, we
reverse.
do.
Bro,
No. I can't wait to hear this. Should I? Let me figure it out. Maybe I should have had him at 7. The guy's leading the
Okay.
league in assists. We've been hyping
We
the
went from
dude
3
up
to 7.
for a month and a half. This team is what 5th in the Eastern Conference, if I'm not mistaken? 5th, 4th? I genuinely want to know why y'all are mad at me for having the league
I'm
leader in
not mad
assists,
at you.
number 3
I
on
am-
my list.
I am proud
in
of
point
you.
Guards.
Z,
in point guards.
Z,
in point
Z,
guards.
Z. I am proud of you. I had such a hard time leaving him out of the 5 spot. I really wanted to put him in because I saw last year with
Mm-hmm.
the Pacers. Hold up, Saney. Because I agree he's not top 5. I really wanted
Can't
to
wait
do
for-
it.
I
'Cause
can't wait.
I've been trying to push the Tyrese Halliburton narrative since the start of the season. Last year when he got traded to the Pacers,
You have.
in his 20-30 games, he was averaging, I believe it was 18 and 9. This was significantly higher than his Kings days. He's now a true point guard. And it was a decent sample size. I expected him to maintain similar numbers to that, but he's exceeded them. He's at 19, 11. All right, incredible shooting splits. The Pacers are doing well right now, and as long as they keep on to Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, like the players that are keeping that unit together, they could be a play-in team. Again, it's not in their best interest because I do think they should be a lottery team, but they could be a good team if they decide to keep it together. The thing about Halliburton, for me to leave him off, I don't think that he is good enough as a bucket getter compared to these other guys like Dame, Trae, John Morant. They can get it for the teams whenever they want. Halliburton is a pass-first player. He's working on his ISO bag. I think it's gotten much better since his Kings days. I looked at the stats, and he's taking 37% of his threes off an assist as opposed to 70% in Sacramento, doing a lot of self-creation for himself. He reads the floor incredibly. The teammates on the players on his team, 51% of their made baskets this season are off a Halliburton assist. Playing with Tyrese Halliburton is like playing with a camp counselor when you're like a 4-year-old and he has the basketball and he's trying to dish it to everyone else. The Pacers' usage rating right now, Tyrese Halliburton, first off, leads the league in passes made. He passes the most out of anyone in the league. He's not playing, I don't think, an incredible amount of minutes. I could be mistaken, but I don't think he leads the league in anything like that. His usage rating is 23%. Compare that to someone like Luka, who's more at 38. Usage rate does not take into account how much you're passing. It's how much you are ending the play. It takes into account how many times you're either scoring, missing a shot, getting to the foul line, or committing a turnover. His usage rate is at 23%, which means he's not doing that much creation by himself. But also the other usage ratings of the other guys in the Pacers are very close to 20, which means if you divide it up between the 5 starters, a perfect team would be everyone at 20%. You think of a team like the Atlanta Hawks, someone that would be a lot of usage rating around 20%. He just distributes like a camp counselor who's trying to get everyone to touch. The only thing about Halliburton is that I don't know how much his offense in Indiana is contributing to all these plays, because you watch, it's a lot of pin downs for Buddy Hield. He's an incredible passer, incredible vision, but I don't know if a team were to key in on his ability come playoff time, if he's going to be able to get those looks off, if they're going to blitz him. I don't know what that would look like, because he's not someone like Trae Young or Dame Lillard who could just take it and get a bucket themselves. I am so high on Tyrese Halliburton because he's a good passer. He's 6'5". Great shooter. He has really deep range. He's been one of the most efficient shooters in the league, period, at any distance. The drawback is the creation part, which he's getting better at. He also doesn't have playoff experience. But with his passing and the way he distributes at a very low turnover rate, I really wanted him to put on the top 5 list to push the narrative. I can't do it yet, but I'd love to hear why you have him over the other guys. Like a 3 is kind of wild as of right now for me.
I am bamboozled because it was my what's the word I'm looking for? I was under the assumption we were doing top 5 point guards as players, not this season. We're talking about players, right? We're talking about the top 5 point guards, right? Like as a player.
You are saying that, right, Z?
Are you listing your top 5 point guards as the top 5 point guards this season?
This season,
because we were
I'll take
clear on the
Tyrese
fact
in the top
that it's
5.
top 5 point guards.
This season, I'll take.
Yeah, sure. That's all ridiculous.
Heck
But we were
yeah.
clear on the fact that it's top 5 point guards in the league right now, not as this season, as in the 5 point guards, the 5 S-tier point guards.
I looked at this from a perspective of I'm taking into account we're top point guards right now. Point guards right now. Yeah.
So your list
if you're looking at
not
it from
just
a player's perspective,
you can
I'll
take
change that for sure.
You can take into account this season.
Again,
But is your list based on only this season, or is it based on the top 5
my
point
list
guards?
is based on my list is based on solely what I've seen so far this season. As of
Okay,
once
then I'm
again,
not gonna
once
argue
again,
That's why Steph's
once again.
I'm not gonna
if
argue
Z,
because that's
no.
not-
But the thing is,
I have a
Z's,
completely different
I don't
perspective
think
on my
unless
list.
he were to contemplate himself that Z's list would change all that much if we're talking about from a total perspective. Because what I said before,
I think it does, because I
here's
think-
the thing, because he showed flashes before last season. It was a larger sample size, not a larger than this season, but he showed. Hold up. The shooting numbers have been the same. He's averaged a lot of assists. To act like this is not, he is going to be this player. He's going to be this player.
He's going to be.
No. He is this
be.
player right now. He can have up and down shooting years. The passes you're seeing, maybe the numbers are a little skewed once again because he is the centerpiece of the offense. He's the guy who has the ball, but his playing ability is where it is right now. Similar to Shea.
There's too much talent. There's too much. I don't even have.
Okay,
no.
No, but I'm saying if we're
I didn't
saying
have Shea to be on my
Shea,
list.
we know that Shea, what he's doing this season, we know he will be doing that. Tyrese Halliburton, what he's doing this season, he will be doing that. I don't think Halliburton is top 5 because of his scoring back and the lack of shot creation for himself in a fourth quarter. But to say that Z's list would change just because it's not this season, I think is false. I think he still could have a crazy list.
No.
But I think
Here's
even if it wasn't just this
another
season,
reason why I put him there.
It would change because
you can't speak for
somebody
Z.
from the third spot. Taking somebody from the third spot out of your list. Z just said he wouldn't be there. Z just said
then he's
after I said is it
contemplating
this season
himself.
or is it that?
Then he's contemplating
Z
himself.
Z literally just said Z. Did I mishear you? Did you say you wouldn't have Halliburton on your list if we're talking about the top 5 point guards?
If we're not looking at them half of a way as because they're point guards. If we're looking at them and saying, okay, this guy's listed at this position, so yeah, then it probably would change. But I'm not doing that. I'm looking at it as you are listed as a point guard, and if you are playing the way that he's playing, not to mention the fact that not even before the season started, we all were sitting here like Indiana's going to be at the bottom of the freaking conference. So the fact that he has him at the 5th seed right now and is playing this well, I also took into account. So if I'm going to sit here and get flamed for having Tyrese Halliburton as my 3rd best point guard, I don't care because as far as I'm concerned, the numbers are there. Nobody expected the Pacers to be this good. Nobody expected him to be leading the league in assists right now, and nobody's expecting just the way in which the Pacers have played as a whole to be so centered around Tyrese Halliburton. And he is listed as the point guard of that team, and he is the best. He is most points on that team, averaging, most assists on that team, averaging. I'm throwing them in there. They're the 5th seed. I don't care if you have a problem with it. I don't care.
What you didn't answer my question though. Is your list based on only this? Because
my
that's
list
what he said.
is based off of this year's point guard so far. That's where my list is. Throughout
only this season. Only this season. Based on only this play.
For certain players, it goes a little bit deeper than that. Like Steph, for example.
So now
I
we're
knew he was
changing
gonna be a top 5 player.
our constraints because when I asked you before, you said it's only based on this season.
I didn't have a set constraint list of what it was, but that because it changes for a lot of people. Luka's been putting up the same numbers for 4 years. Curry's been playing at an elite level and has just got better.
So
I think we got to ask.
Halliburton is the player behind Luka and
We
Steph.
gotta ask a
Halliburton
different
is your
question.
point guard
We
behind
gotta ask
Luka
a
and
different
Steph.
question. If we were
Halliburton
talking,
is the first guy you think of behind Luka and
Z,
Steph.
if we were
we have to
if
get
we
to the
were
bottom.
talking a body of work, not necessarily how they've started the season, how we know they're going to play, and as long as they're not in a plan of regression, you could have a down year and still be a better player. If we were just saying the better players, let's say we're in the off season, they haven't even played yet. Who would be above? Would anyone be above Tyrese Halliburton in that third spot, or would it be Halliburton if you just
if we're back in? Well, are you talking about if we're back in June
I'm just saying like if we were just looking at the players as like not trying to weigh this season too heavily, I'm just trying to eliminate the recency bias. Because I don't know if you're trying to put Tyrese Halliburton in there because of this season or because you saw what I saw last year and he's doing it again. I don't know what you're.
I understand that Tyrese Halliburton is up like that, but what you saw last year does not justify him being right behind Luka and Steph. It does not justify him putting him over guys like Lillard.
You're not valuing what he's doing as a point guard. That's on you.
So you take Halliburton over Lillard.
So I'm putting him right there.
Lillard
is injured right now. Like, what do you mean?
We're talking about the top 5 point guards in the league. We're not talking about
Halliburton versus Lillard. Z, why is Tyrese Halliburton better than Damian Lillard? I want to hear this.
Tyrese Halliburton is a better point guard right now than Damian Lillard because of like you said, you brought up his usage rate, you brought up his assist rate.
So your list is
sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. What was your reasoning for Tyrese Halliburton, say over Damian Lillard, if I didn't say anything that I just said?
The main reason why I have Tyrese Halliburton right there, the main reason is because he's leading the league in assists as we speak. Now, if this player was changed to somebody like Chris Paul, who last year was leading the league in assists, we had Chris Paul right there as a top 5 point guard, consensus, if not top 3 at 3, because he led the league in assists. LeBron James, even when he was leading the league in assists back in 2020, people were like, oh, wait, it's LeBron. So should we classify him as a small forward or a point guard? Oh, wait, he's playing point guard roles. I guess you can call him a point guard. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. And I'm not saying that anybody can just go out there.
I think Chris Paul is at like 9 right now.
I'm sorry, Hoop. I'm sorry. I have to ask this. Z, I asked you the first time, and you told me your list was based on only this season. I asked you a second time, and then you told me that it goes a little deeper with each guard, and you're taking into account the pass as well. And then now your reasoning for Halliburton is the fact that he's leading the NBA in assists through like 19 games this season.
That's the first reason that I listed. That's the first reason that I listed.
That's your main reason. That's your main reason, though. You said that's your main reason.
Can you give him a minute?
20 games of this season. 20 games of this season of Halliburton should not be put over Damian Lillard.
Hold on,
that is ridiculous.
What the hell has Damian Lillard done since he just got hurt? Damian Lillard just got hurt, mind you.
Let's pick a different guy.
You just said, literally talking about no.
We're talking about the All-Star though. This list is about top 5 point guards.
You just said when we were talking about All-Stars. When we were talking about All-Stars, you just said that Damian Lillard can't be there because you took into account his injury. Now,
because All-Stars only this season.
Does that mean if Damian Lillard is hurt, what is he doing for his team right now as a point guard? What is Damian Lillard doing for his team that Tyrese Halliburton is not doing for his?
All-Star.
So don't give me the crap about putting Damian Lillard over him if he's not doing anything. I don't get
this. Because listen, I asked you 3 times. All-Star, hold up. All-Star is based on only this season. You don't say Harden deserves an All-Star spot because he played good in Houston. You're only talking about this season, correct? Damian Lillard this season doesn't deserve to be an All-Star because he wasn't playing. I asked you the first time, what is your list based off of? You said it's only based off of this season. And then you said it's deeper, it goes in the past as well, it's players as a whole. And then you want to say and then your reasoning behind Halliburton is only based on this season. Do not say I put Lillard over Halliburton, but that's contradicting myself because I didn't put him as an All-Star. All-Star is only this season. We were clear that this top 5 list was top 5 point guards, not just based on this season, but top 5 point guards in general. For example, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. Desmond Bane has been outplaying LeBron James this season. Would you still take Desmond Bane over LeBron James?
No.
This season. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This top 5 list. So you're telling me you putting Halliburton over Lillard is you telling me right now you want to take a player right now. You're not thinking about the future or how Halliburton's is a piece that's going to stay with you for 5-10 years and Damian Lillard's prime is running out. We're talking about players what they are right now. You're taking Halliburton over Lillard. You're taking Halliburton over any point guard other than Luka and Steph.
Do Halliburton versus Ja because Damian Lillard. My list once again because I feel like we forgot all the other lists because we were so stuck on Halliburton. I had Steph, Luka, Ja, Trey, Dame. Dame, if this was still in the middle of his prime and he hasn't missed the time and he's been efficient throughout these last years where he's been injured, and I think he'd be number 3. But because of the setbacks he's had and the inconsistencies, I have him at 5 behind Ja and Trey. I think a better thing to ask Z would be, why is Tyrese Halliburton over John Morant?
I purely looked at the fact that we've talked about Memphis Grizzlies in the past, and we've talked about how certain guys like Ja, the record that they have had in the past without Ja last season was 21-5. John Morant's been playing out of his mind right now, but I'm saying I just think that with the way that the Memphis Grizzlies look as a team, I could see them winning some games without Ja. Now, with Tyrese Halliburton being at the helm of his offense in Indiana, it looks like he's kind of like all they have in terms of putting the ball in the basket. And I know they have Mouse Turner, Buddy Hield, and all of these things, but Tyrese Halliburton is running that show over there. John Morant runs that show when he can, but they can also get the show on the road without him, and they've proven that. Guys like Desmond Bane, we're talking about how great he's been this season. Guys like Jaren Jackson, he just got back, so we're looking at how he's playing. So that's what I took into account right there. And John Morant, Ja is a point guard. He's listed as a point guard, but I think Tyrese Halliburton plays that point guard role better than John Morant does. That's why I have him over him. You can call me crazy, I don't care, but I'm valuing what he's doing as a point guard.
What I'm hearing is you're partly taking into consideration how well they play the point guard role. I know a lot of people just old heads will be like, oh, Steph Curry's a shooting guard. He doesn't play on ball or any of that. Believe me, I sat down with Tyrese Halliburton. That's on my top 5. I was like, I might turn into that old head today just to put him in there, but I didn't. My questioning to you is, I don't mind you doing that. I'm just saying it's like a change in criteria.
I know that it's something that's different because everybody some people who might hear it is probably going to be like, oh, this isn't what I saw on ESPN the other day, the media darlings that they have.
Yeah, no, I agree, but
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
I'd love to just explain like the what ifs and just think that if Tyrese Halliburton were leading a team into the playoffs, like he would be just as excellent as he is. But if you're taking a team into a playoff series, both guys are healthy. You taking Dame or Tyrese? You taking Ja or Tyrese? You taking Trey or Tyrese? I think I'd love Tyrese. Like I want to see him do it, but it's just the scoring punch when you're able.
I'm not saying
it's tough. It's real tough.
Okay, so I'll just say this because now I think it's kind of dawning on me about where we miscommunicated. Me specifically, once again, was stuck in traffic on the way back here, kind of a rambunctious day. However, if I missed the cue where we're talking about, I understand what Sandy's saying, right? We're looking at them as players, and I'm looking a little bit more in depth on that point guard side for Tyrese. If it's a playoff series, I'm gonna take Dame and Ja over Tyrese, but that's only because they're better scorers. They're playoff built guys. We haven't seen Tyrese in the playoffs to know that or not. So yeah, but I'm saying just as a point guard. What he's doing as a point guard, distributing, facilitating, all those things, I am giving flowers and shining a light upon that. Now, that I'm not saying Tyrese is a better player than Ja or Dame. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not doing that. What he's doing at the point guard position, I think is very valuable and more valuable than what the other two are doing. And it's not more valuable than what Steph and Luka are doing, on the other hand, because Steph's the only reason the Warriors have been winning games recently, and Luka, same boat. But yeah, that's where I'm seeing. I hope that you guys can see that, but if you don't, I'm sorry.
I see it. I see it. I just don't agree with it. I want to get to saying.
I understand. If you don't agree with you, I don't. I got you.
Yeah. You have Kyrie in your top 5. I'd love to hear. First off,
Kyrie is the most skilled player of all time.
Can you list your top 5 again?
It was Kyrie. It was John Morant. It was Damian Lillard. It was Luka Doncic. It was Steph Curry.
So Trae Young is not on the list?
No, I think Kyrie Irving as a player is better than Trae Young.
Can you explain that?
Trae Young is just too inefficient. I think if Trae Young was more efficient, the volume he shoots the ball and the efficiency he has is the main reason why I left him out. I think he's trigger happy. I think people see the highlights, but they don't truly see the in-depth stats. They don't see the actual impact he has on the game. A great example is that Atlanta-Houston game where they were up by double digits in the fourth. Inefficient trigger-happy players lead to losses, and it's very easy to exploit. I think Trae Young's IQ to the game needs to be boosted a little in terms of when to make the right shot, I guess is the right way to put it. I think his stats show all-star numbers because he shoots at such a high volume, and I think he is an all-star for sure, But when I'm thinking of him or Kyrie Irving, if I see a guy like Kyrie Irving putting up the same amount of shots as Trae Young, being in the same position as Trae Young, I think Kyrie Irving does a much better job at it. I think Kyrie Irving is a much more gifted scorer. I think Kyrie Irving can get to the basket much easier. Playmaking wise, I would give the edge to Trae
I don't
Young.
think
Kyrie's
it's an
never
edge.
been known as a
I think it's a large gap between the playmaking. I think it's a very large
Yeah,
gap.
Sure.
that's what I was saying.
Sure.
Kyrie's a scorer.
I give
Trae Young is a
Trae
playmaker.
Young the edge to the playmaking, but Kyrie as a player is just much more gifted. I would trust the ball in his hands much more than I would with Trae Young. Trae Young does have a little bit of turnover issues. He's also not as clutch as people think. His field goal percentage in the fourth is not pretty. That's why I put Kyrie Irving over him. I think Trae Young can obviously blossom into a player that really, I think Trae Young has another level that he can tap into that he hasn't yet tapped into, and that's mainly due to efficiency. I think once you see Trae Young turn up the efficiency a little, he becomes a guaranteed all-star starter every season. Like he becomes like a Luka Doncic type vibe for the Eastern Conference, where it's like we know there's no competition with this guy other than Steph or whatever that. There's very little competition to be with him. But right now there's competition with Trae Young because of the inefficiency, and that's why I'm going to give the number 5 spot to Kyrie Irving. Now, this list is not just for this season; it's for players in general. If the player is playing on the court,
Can
who would
I
rather? I'm
ask?
taking
Do
Kyrie
you know
Irving.
what Trae Young's efficiencies were last season?
No, I was looking at this season. I will be honest. I was looking at
Well,
the stats
last
this
season I believe he was 46-36. So believe me, because I am the anti Trae Young agenda for sure. But he was been inefficient in the playoffs, which is why I made the whole John Morant take that. I think he is a stronger playoff performer. Last season, I am looking at it right now. Trae was 20 field goal attempts, 46% from the field, 8 threes, 38%. I agree. He's trigger happy.
That was his best shooting season, though.
Yeah,
Before
and
that, he was 43% and then 41%.
He's also 23. He's getting older. With the addition of DeJounte Murray, I expect the wrinkles to be out soon. No one really ever gets, to their full potential as a duo in their first year. So I expect that to improve. Trae Young also, if he wanted to, if he had a Pacers-centric offense where he is the guy making for everyone, he could have double-digit assist seasons just about every year. His second year in the league was like 29 and 10. So in terms of instant offense, Trae Young is that guy. Obviously, absolutely no defense, but Kyrie Irving is not much of a defender either. So I think in terms of creating offense,
Kyrie Irving is underrated as a defender. I think Kyrie Irving is underrated.
Well, I think he's scrappy, but he's not defending anyone. He can be scrappy when he wants to
defend anybody his size.
I don't
think
agree
Kyrie
with
Irving
that.
can defend anyone his size. I think when you go to the forward and the center spot, that's when it gets a little bit of an issue. But I've seen Kyrie Irving lock down a guy like 2016 Steph in the finals. Like Kyrie Irving is that guy. To me.
I would disagree.
I don't see that anymore because
I-
that was 6 years ago.
I'm
I
just
think
in general though. I'm saying Kyrie Irving is.
Well, in general, I'm just saying we're talking about the
Kyrie's
past
been-
couple of years. And
In
Kyrie,
general, Kyrie versus Trae Young in a defensive debate, Kyrie's gonna win.
yeah,
Like
'cause
I'll
Trae Young's
agree with Sadie on
Trae Young's
that,
a cone
for sure.
But I just think on offense, Trae Young creates more offense, and when they're point guards and guys that are
Kyrie this season is averaging 1.1 steals and 1 block.
I'm
as
not
a guard
gonna.
and as a guy you don't expect to be defensive.
If you want to
like
say
like-
that Kyrie Irving's defense is what separates him from Trae Young, that's fine.
No, it's not what separates him.
And what is what?
It's not what
does separate
separates him.
Because I think
It's the offensive. I think
I think Trae Young's a
Kyrie's
better offensive
offensive
player.
bag is I think Kyrie Irving is a better offensive
he has a better
player. I think
bag.
that's
He has
where we
better
disagree.
skills, but it's not the production.
He's a better bag. He's more skilled.
He's
and
a
I think
second-
the only
he's
reason
second
that his
option.
stats don't show.
He's been in a second option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trae Young's the first
Kyrie's
option, putting up
consistently
better
been the
numbers,
second option.
more offense for his teams, leading
Trae
his
Young's
teams
the
into the
first option,
playoffs.
putting
Kyrie
up-
has not let a team
Trae
into
Young's
the playoffs.
Trae Young's the first option, putting up 3 more points a game on way worse efficiency.
Look
Kyrie
how many
Irving
more
has
assists.
proven
We're
to
talking
not-
about offense.
Kyrie,
Leading his team into the playoffs.
I would not trust Kyrie
Eastern
Irving.
I would not
Irving's
judge
my
Kyrie
team
Irving
over
on that
Trae
because
Young.
Kyrie only had 4 seasons by himself where it was in the Cavs, and that Cavs team was terrible.
Am I supposed to
I
am
would
I
not
supposed to
judge-
give a what if that if
Celtics?
Kyrie was on his own team that he would be doing that?
No. But I'm just saying,
Celtics,
Trae Young's he was injured.
Well, he had a chance to lead that team before KD because KD was out.
Celtics,
But
they would have went to
that
the
first
finals
few
of
stretches
Kyrie.
of 2020.
They went to games.
I'm talking about
Kyrie was
his
injured.
Brooklyn years.
No, he was great on the Celtics.
Brooklyn
I'm just
years,
talking. I'm talking Brooklyn.
Brooklyn years, they would have went to the finals if he didn't get injured in that Bucks series. And the Celtics series, I'll give you that one. He played bad. But I can name off the series where Trae Young.
Yeah, exactly.
Trae Young
I
has
just
been
think in
very
terms
efficient.
of offense,
Yeah.
I think Trae's creating more. Obviously, his bag is not near Kyrie's. I think the most skilled, adept offensive scorer we've seen. But as a playmaker,
I'm taking Kyrie Irving over Trae Young.
That's fine.
I can't.
And
I
have
just
Trae at 6.
I just don't like how you brought the steals and blocks up. I thought that was crazy, but
No, like
Who
that's
you
how
hate
that's
when we bring up steals and blocks?
defense-
No,
is-
it's steals
offense
and
and
blocks
defense
when
is-
if you're talking about a big, but you're talking about Kyrie Irving versus Trey. That's nasty.
No, I'm just
Fair.
no. I wasn't talking about Kyrie. Kyrie's better than them because he has 1 steal, 1 block. I
No,
was
I'm
you
saying
guys
the
are
fact that
underrating
you
him as a
brought that
defender.
up.
He was
Because
saying,
you're
yeah,
underrating
he
him
was
as a
talk-
defender.
Because
I was
he's
saying
talking
because you
about
guys
the
are underrating him as a
defense, yeah.
defender.
I don't know. Trey's
We were
averaging
talking about the
0.8
defense,
steals.
and you guys
saying-
said
I'm
that.
with
about a
you.
steal.
You guys were saying Kyrie Irving is not a great defender. And I
He's
was
not
like,
a great
bro,
defender.
These,
He is not a
it's-
great
it's-
defender.
You're making it sound
not.
like he's horrendous. Like you're making him sound
He's
like
not a
he's
good
He's
defender.
not horrendous,
James,
but like
He's not a good defender. Trey Young is an
he's
awful
not,
defender.
He is not looked
Kyrie
at
Irving
as
is a
a
bad
great
defender.
He
Awful versus bad. This is not
Right.
like good versus bad. Good versus awful.
I don't know.
I'm taking Trey over him as a point guard.
Wait, so
I'm
where
taking
would
Kyrie
Kyrie
Irving.
fall on your list then, Z?
Kyrie would probably fall 6-7 range. He wouldn't be top 5, but for me in my head, I'm looking at it like Kyrie is not like he's not really a point guard. The last few years, he's kind of been a shooting guard, 2 option. Like
Sure.
let me go isolate on this side.
How
do
about
my
De'Aaron
thing.
Fox then?
So
Because he's more of a
De'Aaron
true
Fox
point.
is an interesting case, right? He's an interesting case. If I had to say, point guard wise, I'd say De'Aaron Fox is like could be 6, Kyrie 7, like interchangeable like that. I'd pick Kyrie on a good day though. You know, if he's
I don't
doing
know.
his
I think
thing.
we should wrap. I think we should wrap things up here.
Well, we're all disgruntled.
episode.
Time to go out of the episode in strong fashion. We are all still friends, so don't worry. But thank you for stopping. I didn't even let Saney do his thing. I'll let you do your thing. You look mad. That's why I went for it.
What?
You usually close
What,
out
my
the
secret
episode.
segment?
No, you usually close out the
Oh
episode.
yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Episode 30 was a banger, I would say. 31 is going to be about the. Actually, should we even announce that 31 is going to be Eastern Conference because we might have
Yeah, there might be a little a block in between.
next Sunday. We'll do it a Sunday. Next Sunday,
Or
you're going
we'll
to see
do it
our-
soon. They just say soon.
We'll do it soon. We'll do it soon.
And not the Eastern Conference. That'd be a different position.
Be-
It would be
Or not different
Be
position.
prepared
Sorry, I'm
for
thinking of my
some-
TikTok video because I
top
did the West
five,
today, and I'm doing
top
that.
5 for shooting
Hey,
guards.
if you actually no, if the off chance that you would watch my video and then this is gonna come out, my Eastern Conference list comes out 2 hours before my actual video will tomorrow, which is lame. Don't snitch and don't expose it. All right, have a good day, everybody.